Plants play a major part in setting up a beautiful vivarium for dart frogs or other exotic animals. Even if you have a very simple background, like I usually do, you can still get your vivarium to look very beautiful by choosing the right plant species and putting them in the right places. In today's video, I'm going to give you a tour of my dart frog vivariums, where I will be showing you every single plant species that I currently keep in them, and I'm going to reveal some of my best tips and tricks along the way. So just sit back, relax and enjoy the video. First out, we have my favorite vivarium in the frog room, which houses my Dendrobates leucomelas guiana banded group. This vivarium was set up in late 2020 and it was very sparsely planted at first, and it also has an extremely simple background, which is actually just Hygrolon attached straight to the glass with aquarium silicone. But now that it's fully grown in, it looks really good nonetheless. This setup doesn't have any super rare plants or any plants that grab too much attention, so instead you notice and appreciate all the different small green leaves that come together to make this vivarium what it is. I absolutely love the big wood centerpiece that's covered in Java moss, Markgravias and Peperomia emarginella. Next up, we have my biggest vivarium. It currently houses my breeding groups of Phyllobates vittatus and the Epidobates anthonii rheodaule. A friendly disclaimer, keeping different dart frog species together is a very controversial topic, and it's not recommended to beginners for numerous reasons, but I have a whole video dedicated to that topic if you want to learn more. It will be linked in the description down below. The vivarium itself was one of my first dart frog vivariums, which is starting to show now. It was set up in early 2020, but I've had to majorly overhaul it since then. Mainly because the cocoa fiber background is starting to fall apart now, and also because the first iteration of it had a substrate mix that didn't last very long and quickly turned into mud, which obviously had to be replaced. Since the background isn't looking too good right now, I'm keeping this vivarium a bit more on the overgrown side compared to the previous one, with many fast growing plant species. The main change I've made since the last time you saw this vivarium on the channel is that I've added a large Anthurium crystallinum to it. Unlike in the previous vivarium, I actually really wanted a large plant to take the viewer's attention away from the faulty background. Before we continue, I wanted to mention that while this video primarily focuses on different plant species, I also have a guide on how to plant and care for different types of plants in vivariums, so feel free to also watch that video once you're done watching this one. Next up, we have a completely new vivarium that you haven't seen before unless you're following me on Instagram at gecko_geeko6. This vivarium houses my 4 relatively new Ranitomea sirensis contamina, and it was set up about 6 months ago. This enclosure also has a really simple Hygrolon background, but it also uses black aquarium filter foam, which serves as both a substrate and a drainage layer at the same time. Plants are actually growing really well straight in it without any substrate. Similar to the first vivarium that I showed you in this video, this vivarium was also planted with very small cuttings rather than large established plants, which means that while it might take an extra year before it looks really good, I think the end result will look much more natural than it would if you were to squeeze in large established plants and make it lush and green from day one. I also avoided fast growing plants in this one, so hopefully I won't have to trim it as much. Next, we have my Dendrobates tinctorius azuris vivarium. It was set up in early 2022 and uses the same Hygrolon background that you've already seen twice in this video. It's not the best looking vivarium that I have, but it definitely does the job and it has some pretty cool plant species in it. I really don't have that much else to say about this one, so let's just enjoy these plants. Moving out of the main room, we have my Ranitmea amazonica French Guiana vivarium. This vivarium is definitely my second favorite in the room after the Leucomelas vivarium, although they're actually quite different. This one most definitely has one large rare plant stealing all the attention, being this massive Anthurium warraquinum, which is probably my favorite plant in my whole collection, and it also uses more large aroids in general. This vivarium was actually built on the channel in late 2022, and the build video will be linked in the description down below. If you watch that video and come back to this one, you will notice the massive difference it makes when you let it grow in for a year and a half. The background consists of cork bark panels, as you will see in that build video. Next, we have two vivariums that house Ranitmea reticulata, one of the most beautiful dart frogs in the world. They were set up during 2023, with the middle one being a bit older than the one to the left. They are both set up with a cork bark background and some random wood pieces as the hardscape, similar to the previous vivarium but on a much smaller scale. I'm also keeping both of them quite overgrown, and have plenty of hardscape pieces to allow the frogs to feel secure and fully utilize the volume of the tank to the absolute limit, which I think is incredibly important when using such a small vivarium to house the frogs in, even though Ranitmea reticulata is one of the smallest dart frogs in the hobby. Below them I have a row of froglet tanks. These house various froglets, but there's only one or two frogs left in each of them now, since I already sold most of the froglets from last year and I took a break from pulling eggs up until very recently. Once again, these vivariums are also kept on the overgrown side since they don't have a background. And this is kind of where I just put a bunch of random plants that I don't have room for in any of my bigger display vivariums. These vivariums are obviously too small to permanently house any dart frogs, but in my opinion, they're completely fine for raising up froglets for a few months. The final enclosures I'm going to show you in this plant tour are these bins where I keep some random plant species that I either want to propagate more of or just didn't have room for in any of my other vivariums yet. The one to the right also houses some Phyllobates vittatus froglets, while the one to the left hasn't housed any froglets in many months. Plants grow extremely well here, and if I'm ever struggling with a certain plant species, they typically recover very well if I put them in here. Those were almost all the plants that I have in my Dart Frog vivariums. I skipped past my Crested Gecko vivarium, my tarantula enclosures, my house plants, and some random very small plants that aren't really doing too well, so I guess the title is a clickbait. But there aren't really that many other plant species to show you in those that you haven't already seen in my other vivariums. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's completely free and it really helps me out. If you want to see more of my animal room, feel free to also check out my Instagram page at gecko_geeko6. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.